Hello, and welcome back to The Bellmaker by Brian Jacques. Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to support, there are links to do so in the description. Let's dive into The Bellmaker. Book 1, The Dream. Chapter 1. It is said that in the hungry land of ice and snow from whence he came, the beast was known and feared by the names he had taken. Foxwolf, the Ergen Negru. He and his mate Silvermord commanded a vast horde of savage gray rats. They ravaged the Northlands unopposed. Tundra, forest, and mountain lay under the claws of Negru and his vixen. But the Foxwolf knew there was one enemy he could never defeat, one foe more ruthless than any living thing. Winter. Snow, ice, howling blizzards, and famine were the real rulers of the country he had despoiled, a bone-chilling starkness that conquered all. Negru and Silvermord were forced to yield, realizing that starvation and death stalked the country they had stripped bare. So it was that Negru took Silvermord and all of the horde in 3 great ships to search for the sun. Those were the dangerous seasons. Battered across dark, roaming seas they went, narrowly avoiding. Those were the dangerous seasons. Battered across dark, roaring seas they went, narrowly dodging huge floating ice mountains, the ship's sails and riggings frozen stiff with rimy spray. Sometimes they lay becalmed in ghostly latitudes, wreathed in spectral mists with the waters beneath them still and fathomless. Completely lost, the Foxwolf plowed onward, driven across trackless wastes where no vessel's bow had ever cut spray, avoiding leviathans of the deep and shoals of unnamed sea beasts. Strange, hostile waters closed over their wake as the weary convoy sailed deeper into the unknown. Then, one morning, the lookout saw that the seas were gentler. Small fish swam playfully alongside the wave-scoured hulls, and the weather turned fair. Gazing upward, the eyes of Foxwolf beheld fleecy white clouds, with sun peeping between them. Looking out to the horizon, he saw a thin, green-brown line of land. The Foxwolf threw back his head and howled triumphantly. He had defeated the wide, wintry seas. Silvermore joined him on deck, and together they bayed their defiance at the blue spring sky. Roaring and screeching, the gray rat horde thronged decks and rigging to cheer their leaders. It was a curious sight. 3 big, battered ships swarming with thin, wild-eyed creatures, tattered sails flapping above cracking decks as they rode the ingoing swell toward shore. And so it was that Ergen Negru came to the far south. The land lay like a dream out of time under the spell of early spring. Southward, a soft, peaceful region of plenty that had never felt the cruel breath of war. Stowing the 3 ships up a heavily wooded creek, Negru waded ashore with Silvermord and their ragged, murderous followers. Lean from hunger and privation, eager for loot and conquest, they pressed hurriedly inland. The time of the Foxwolf had come to southward. From his vantage point on a wooded hilltop, Rab Streambattle gazed across the valley to Castle Florette. The otter had watched and planned almost every day as spring passed into summer. Rab stared sadly at his old home. It resembled a beautiful forgotten cake left standing atop the green-clothed tableland. Against a sky of dusty blue, cream-colored towers shimmered beneath quaint, circular tiled roof caps. Dark green ivy and golden saxifrage flourished amid the crenellations. Campion and climbing roses burgeoned carelessly over window sills and framed doors. The hot afternoon did not contribute the slightest breeze to ruffle the variegated pennants draped idly around the tall flagpoles. Rab dismissed the dreamlike qualities of his old home, riveting his worried brown eyes on the window alongside the drawbridge top. Had something gone wrong? Did Negru know of the escape plan? His friends, Gale Squirrel King, Queen Serena, and Little Truffin, had they received the message from Ralph the Blackbird? The otter clutched his bow tightly, staring at the window, awaiting the signal as thoughts raced through his troubled mind. Why, oh why, had Gale not listened to him? Rab recalled the day he had first argued with his friend. The squirrel had become furious and bitter and had ended with Gale ordering his old friend either to curb his tongue or leave the castle. Stone-faced, Rab stalked angrily out of Florette, taking the entire otter castle guard with him. Not because he feared Nagru, but because he could see the evil that Gale was blind to. Rab hated and loathed the cunning foxwolf with an intensity that banished all fear. Now his friend the Squirrel King and his family were prisoners in their own home. The wickedness of Nagru was a specter that would soon blight the whole of Southward. Gale could have heeded the warnings Rab had issued, but instead he chose to play the king and offer the foxwolf hospitality. Suddenly, Rab's eye caught a flutter of iridescent black wings carrying a scrap of red cloth to the window by the drawbridge. Rab's dream battle notched an arrow to his bowstring. The escape was on. The sun hung like a merciless eye, watching two small creatures huddled in the shade of a shale outcrop on the wasteland floor. The mousemaid, Mariel of Redwall, shook an empty flask over the outstretched tongue of her friend Dandin. 2 single drops fell slowly, and then no more. "Put your tongue away," she said sadly. "The sun will think you're mocking him." The young mouse nodded skyward as he withdrew his parched tongue. "He's been mocking us for the last week." They both sat staring at the empty flask. Mariel gently kicked her slack haversack. 2 stale oatcakes in there. Do you fancy one?" Dandin smiled ruefully. "No, thanks. They're the 2 you said you'd keep as a memento of Redwall Abbey. It's 4 seasons since we left there. I'd break every tooth in my head trying to chomp on them. Besides, I'm too dry to eat. Woo! It's too hot to even talk." Mariel closed her eyes, sitting back into the shade. "Sleep, then. We'll carry on tonight when it gets cooler." Dandin lay down, clasping his paws behind his head, and called out to the sun. "Did you hear that? We're going to sleep. Turn the heat down a bit, will ya?" Mariel opened one eye. "Get to sleep, thirsty gut," she said. Dandin closed his eyes. There was a moment's silence. Then he began talking aloud to himself. "It'll be springtime back at the Abbey now. I bet I know what they'll be having, too. Cold strawberry cordial from deep in the cellars. October ale, dark and cool in foaming tankards. Probably mint teas, well, icy cold, brewed since dawn, clear and fragrant. Just right for sipping on a hot day like... Ouch!" Mariel brandished the haversack over her head. "One more word, and I'll let you have it again." "Can't hear you, old mousy paws," Dandin said as he flopped against her, rolling his eyes comically. "You've knocked me senseless with those 2 oatcakes in here." "Good. Perhaps you'll be quiet now." "Quiet? I haven't said a single word." "Right. Then I'll say a single word. Good night." "Don't you mean good afternoon?" "I mean good night, or I'll brain you with this haversack." "Oh, righto. Good night." Mariel woke in darkness. Warned by her warrior instinct, she lay motionless. Some beast was trying to gradually sneak the haversack out from under her head. It was not Dandin. She could hear his snores drifting gently up the canopy of the star-strewn night. As the final corner of their supply bag eased slowly away, she sprang into action. Slamming a foot hard on the haversack, she prevented the thief from making off with it. In the dim light, Mariel could make out a small, fat figure scurrying off into the wastelands. Snatching one of the 2 ancient oatcakes from the bag, the mousemaid hefted it like a discus, yelling as she flung it, "Redwall!" Thunk! It struck edge on right between the robber's ears. He dropped in a heap. Dandin leapt up, still half asleep, his paws waving. "More October ale there! Who? Mariel?" As she ran toward the felon, the mousemaid was yelling, "I knew those oatcakes'd come in useful! Got the blackguard!" Dandin followed, rubbing sleep from his eyes. When he arrived on the scene, Mariel was kneeling crestfallen over her quarry. "Oh dear, what have I done? He's only a little un," she wailed. It was a small hedgehog. Dandin stooped to feel the big bump in the center of his head. "Middle of the night? Running target? Great shot, I'd say." Mariel turned on him, her eyes brimming with tears. "Oh, Dandin, how could you say that? I'd never have thrown at such a little fellow intentionally, but it all happened so quickly I couldn't see who it was." Dandin picked up the oatcake and chuckled. "Not to worry. Look, little rogue's coming round fine. This is a true redwall missile. See, there's not even a mark on it." The small hedgehog sat up slowly, gingerly pawing his head. He blinked up at that and said, "Where be I? What happened?" Before Mariel could answer, Dandin chipped in. "You tripped and bumped your head, old lad." Glaring at Dandin, the little beast bristled. "My name don't be old lad. I'll be Bowley Pingtips, and I'll thank ye to address I proper." Dandin accepted a look of mock fear and bowed respectfully. "Accept my humble apologies, your royal bowliness." Bowley snatched the oatcake and brandished it. "See this here rook I tripped over? Well, you make sport of me, and I'll biff you with it. What's your names? Speak now before I lose my temper with both of you." The hedgehog's impudence caused Mariel's mood of pity to vanish instantly. She grabbed Bowley firmly by the nose, pulling him up on tip paw, and said, "Listen to me, you cheeky little rubber. I'm Mariel of Redwall, and this is Dandin. We're both warriors, so keep a civil tongue in your head, or we'll give you 2 more lumps to go on top of the one you've already got." Tears streamed from Bowley's eyes as his nose was squeezed. Hey, let go of my nose, you're hurting me." Mariel released him, and he groveled in the sand, rubbing at both bump and snout. The mousemaid nodded, and she sat by him. "That's better. Now, what's a little snippet like you doing out in the wastelands all alone? Where's your mum and dad?" Bowley shrugged glumly. "Never had one as far as I could remember. 2 weasels had me and catched me sofa there, made me a slave for 'em, tied me to posts at night, but I escaped and run away." Dandin's friendly face grew grim. "How far south are these 2 weasels, Bowley?" he asked. "About half a night's march from here, I'd say. I only escaped just before dark, Mr. Dandy." "Well, my name's Dandin, not Mr. Dandy," said Dandin, pawing the long dagger at his belt. "These 2 weasels, they got food and drink?" "Oh, aye, they got victuals aplenty. Rob's travellers, they do." Mariel had retrieved the haversack. She knotted the carrying ropes together, exchanging a low smile with Dandin. "Let's go pay these 2 weasels a visit," she said. The sand and shale were still warm from the day's heat, but the night air was cool as the 3 creatures strode south. Bowley Pintips giggled aloud when Dandin explained their plan to him. And that is where we will end for tonight. Today, we'll see. Thank you so much for joining. I hope you'll tune in again next week. Thank you. Take care.